Guess nobody else could join us today.
I just sent them another email. Larry Stipe's on here, or somebody who looks like Larry Stipe.
I hope it ain't more than one person looks like Larry Sight. That's why he won't show. That's why he's got his camera turned off.
This is being recorded, Wayne.
I don't care.
And open for the public. Just an FYI.
Okay. Larry, do you agree with me?
He's not listening. I apologize for last week. It's just, I thought I posted it and evidently I didn't. So.
Right. Well, I guess I can ask you. I mean, since we're being recorded, everything's could be public knowledge or whatever. The city website says there's 2 available positions on
2 available positions for the
tow board.
Didn't we just fill 2 positions?
Well, it shows that it is. Let me see. Towing Advisory Board. This was done April 13th, 2021. Both citizen positions are available to be filled.
Okay.
And I got an email earlier from City of Charlottesville. I think it's just, generic email. Newsflash, boards and commissions, applications open. And then when I went to it, it showed the Towing Advisory Board and shows the alternate citizen and the voting citizen position that's available.
Well, I know that Buzz said that he wasn't going to rerun for this.
Right.
So I don't know what that means. Okay.
Looks like we got Buzz and we got 2 Teresas.
It must be because I came in with your link. I don't know. I'm Ashley.
How you
Hey,
doing?
Ashley.
I'm Wayne.
Hey, Teresa. Hey, Wayne. Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, I resent the link because I didn't know if everybody had gotten it or not. Let me do this. Can I change this? Okay, we have 1 person that's.
Hey, Teresa, have you gotten Bridget's email correct?
I have sent that to our desk, our help desk to update in our Outlook system. And it looks like, I just looked again when I sent the email, it looks like they still hadn't updated it. So I'll have to follow up on that.
Okay. I just texted her and told her that it was live. So I guess if she's gotten it, she'll get joined in. I don't know.
I sent it to her. I think I sent it to the right one. It's Little Rain, right?
Yeah, and it's got a E. Let's see, we got another Teresa joining. Let's see.
That's probably her.
That might be her. Yeah, it was something about her email address it's got an extra E in it or something.
No, I think it's missing an L at the end of Little. It's like somebody didn't have their glasses on when they was reading it.
LITTL. Yeah, the one. All right, so what you just sent to is wrong. There's a dot after Little, between Little and Rain.
Now I don't even have that one.
Let me see. I'm trying to find it.
Who is this dialing at this other Teresa?
I don't know.
We got Ashley.
It says invalid. So she said it says invalid. All right. So her email.
Hold on. Let me see if I got it bounced back. It didn't bounce back to me, so it went.
She just texted me and said it was invalid. It don't look right neither. Little says invalid meeting ID. Send me correct email. I just told her to send me a correct email.
Who else is on this, this phone call?
I can hear y'all.
Who is this?
This is Larry Sipe.
Oh, hey, Larry.
He's signing in under you now, Teresa.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, all right. So her email
Wait
is
a minute.
LITTLERAINE09
That's what I sent it to.
That's what you sent to. Try again. I told her try again.
She can also use the public link, and I can just promote her if you tell me her name if she can't get the email. Like go through the city calendar.
Thank you, Lachine.
Did that one never come through? Do we get it? Yeah.
That express motor vehicle crash, no injury, no hazards.
Larry, they gonna yell at you like they did me. Turn that radio down.
Report at Seminole Trail, and the cat got something report at Hillsdale. So you can be just up to that next to that express. Have a black four-door and a helicopter.
Oh, that's because I gave him a 3-hour ETA. Lord have mercy. I told him 3 hours. Yeah,
Okay,
that's fine.
I guess, we've got, how many people? I don't
So we
count.
don't.
count. We got
So is
Larry.
Lee not gonna join?
No, Jeff is supposed to be joining. I think he's trying to log on now.
Yeah, Jeff was on the link that Ashley and I were on earlier. The one where from the actual calendar invite.
Who's Jeff?
I think he also stepped in for Josh.
Jeff Fitz, is it
No,
Fitzgerald?
it's just Sandridge.
Oh, Sandridge.
He's a corporal of the traffic unit.
Yes.
That's what Bridget is getting. I don't know if you can send her a new link or anything.
Have her go to the city's calendar and click on the towing committee event, and then just come in through the audience link, and I can promote her to a panelist. That's probably going to be the easiest way.
All right, hang on. I'm gonna call her and tell her that because I'll let you tell her that.
Hello.
Hey, the lady is telling me to tell you to go to the, what'd you say?
Go to the city's calendar, and then click on the towing committee event. And from there, you'll just register as a participant, and I'll promote you to a panelist.
All right, thank you. All right, I'll see if I can. So I'm going to calendar. Hold on.
Charlottesville City Calendar.
Going now.
Do you what?
Wow. More details.
She get there?
She's working on
Register for webinar.
Yeah, click
Sis.
that link underneath towing committee.
Yeah, I'm just registering now.
Just making her register.
Yeah, that it's gonna do that.
Hello, guys.
Are you on there, Bridget?
I'm there.
There you go.
Pulling everything up. Okay, I'm in. Hello.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. Other than Jeff, we're not expecting anyone else, Teresa.
No.
Okay. Since we have Larry on, are we able to move forward and just hopefully loop Jeff in along the way?
I would say yes. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I would say yes.
We have our quorum of one of the 3 positions. Okay. And so happy to kick off, unless anyone else has something they want to work on. You all should have gotten an email, and Bridget, let me know if you didn't get this. I think I was getting some kickback from an email address to you. I had sent out both the last draft of the revision that we did a little while ago when we took our first pass through the ordinance and wanted to do some suggested revisions. And then there was also a PDF from the last time we met together of other areas that might need our attention. So kicked out both of those documents to y'all a week or 2 ago, and then also sent out a Google Doc, kind of a live version of the original ordinance with both of those previous passes and the suggested revisions marked up. So if I'm able to, as a panelist, I should be able to share my screen. No, I cannot.
Let me give you access.
Cool.
There you go.
All right. Let us try this. Okay. Very good. Y'all see this Seville private towing ordinance markup Google Doc?
I do.
All right. So at least this would be my suggestion. I think trying to use our time fruitfully today is to go through this. I think maybe first getting everyone's eyes on and confirmation of what we had previously called out of things we might want to change. Hopefully mostly already indicated in my suggested revisions here. And then with whatever time left, certainly explore any other questions that you have or suggested revisions. I imagine we'll have a lot of rabbit holes as we go down that. Always some deliberation. And then also happy to hear if anyone else has other burning questions or things to address during this meeting.
Kind of reading over now. Like you said, I only received 2 emails. One basically telling me about the first meeting and one saying the meeting was canceled. So I haven't received anything else on my end.
Yeah, Bridget, now that we have you, because I think we had some like typos on your email. Can we get your email address real quick to make sure you are included? Yeah.
Not a problem. It's Little Rain. So it's LITTLERAINE09@gmail.com.
1 0 or 2 zeros?
10.
Okay, that's the other problem.
Yeah, and it looks like, Bridget, what I've been sending out didn't have that E after rain. So let me,
Yeah.
I mean, certainly I'm happy to keep sharing here. I might also just for...
I say, don't worry, I'll catch up.
Okay, cool. All right, then hearing kind of no different guidance, I'm gonna just start going through the document and calling out the things and kind of get the thumbs up on stuff we have so far. So one of the things, and this goes to a few different provisions in the ordinance where I think there's some confusion. So hopefully in the initial definition section, trying to clear some of this up, we included a adding company as a definition, trying to differentiate from operator and company and driver. I think that those definitions throughout the ordinance there's some slippage there. It's kind of loose so as to confuse what the actual entity is being referenced. And so want to include company as means the management of a towing company. Wanted to see if they're
Agreed.
that kind of makes sense. Okay. Now, what I might do, if I can just get a, yeah, that's good, or no, I want to talk this more, I'd rather not do a kind of a silence as agreement. And so somewhat similarly, adding this definition of an employee, saying this is not the operator entity. We're going to set that definition a little bit. This is also not necessarily specifically the driver. It's talking, we have that driver definition up here that is presumably the person who is actually executing the tow and is specific to a towing event, but this could be someone who works in the administrative office or just a differently defined employee of an operator.
All right, but
Also.
so an operator is somebody that
Okay.
operates the equipment. An operator is not an owner or a manager of a business.
So we think we should strike out who's employed by an operator here, maybe who is employed by a company
Exactly.
with that definition. Gotcha. Okay. And we'll keep that capitalized to show that that's referring to that defined term. Okay. Coming down to this immobilized section, Wayne, I had a note. I didn't have much else to go off of, but in a previous meeting that you had a question about immobilization does not include attachment to a tow truck. It's probably really like dusting cobwebs here, but
Using a procedure or piece of equipment such as a boot. Yeah, I mean, immobilization is when you boot a vehicle, not put it on a tow truck, because I can't tell you how many I've had drive off my tow truck.
No joke.
fair. And I know this is like really harkening back to previous meetings, but that there is effectively not much immobilizing going on in Charlottesville or much booting based on kind of the fees that are
No.
allowed to be charged. Right. Okay.
And like I said, I can't even get when the guy from the city was coming in trying to do doing the booting thing.
Yep.
I can't even get the insurance company to answer me on insuring that piece of equipment on a vehicle.
This was the Barnacle.
Yeah, when Barnacle was in there talking about doing the boots.
It was a whole
So,
saga many moons ago.
I can't even get an answer for that. So
Okay. So it seems like this is maybe a provision that isn't super active, not utilized very much, but might be worth identifying that there is some type of immobilization that is not towing that we can call out. And then going to the operator, I feel like this is the definition that we will get the most yield out of nailing down. So recovery operator, this is referring to, when it says person, I think that is more indicating that a kind of a single person business could be in the towing business, even if they don't have a bunch of other employees. But this is referring to like the entity or the business that is conducting towing. And so we wanted to add this addendum or kind of add on to the definition where we're saying that this is the entity and not the specific employee or driver.
That's where it gets, I guess, when you're in the towing business, I would say that still gets confusing and can cause some issue, because in this line of work, the operator is literally the person in the truck, rather be the owner, an employee. The operator is the person out there working the equipment. So when you kind of lump that in with an entity such as a business, it's not the same, because employees come and go. That operator,
Right.
you know, something arises 3 months later, that operator may no longer be the operator. They may no longer be with the company. it's tricky with that.
Yeah.
An operator is literally the person behind the wheel working the equipment.
Mhm.
It says including a business, but so we were sole proprietor, single operator for a very long time. But the minute you bring in an employee, you then have the difference between me in the office versus my driver in the truck, and that is the operator, and I am administrator.
Right. So it sounds like we should strike this
So-
because this is going against what you just said.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I know as you go through and legalities and things of that nature, it will play an important role. It is not the same.
Should we then, because we're going to get on to different topics while we're on operator, maybe go through the rest of the document, see where it calls out that specific term, and then knowing how we want to differentiate from, so the operator who is conducting the tow, employee who can mean a lot of things underneath the company, or the towing company, make sure that we are communicating what we intend to through these definitions throughout the document. I think operator is
Probably.
going to be, operator is going to be the main one that I think stuffs us up.
I think so.
Takes me back years ago that I suggested that.
Here we go. Better late than never. All right. So I literally just did a control F for operator. We got 48 entries, 2 of which we are past, and I'm going to go through and see how they apply. I'll try to be quick. So this is just saying who this ordinance applies to. It's saying to recovery operators conducting this business. No issue there.
Sorry, give me a second.
Yeah.
You could say operators because they still have rules to apply, but say operators and maybe business entities conducting, because it's, again, they come and go.
Yep. So since we defined the businesses as company,
Yep,
are you good with companies there? Companies conducting businesses?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Next, operator. Receive and process annual operator registrations.
So this is about the trucks.
That should be the same, operator and company,
Yeah,
or company and operators.
yeah, agreed.
Do you prefer company first?
I don't think that part. Does it matter in legality which one's first?
I ain't got no education. I don't know which one's supposed to come first.
They're both in there, equally applied. Okay.
I should say.
C comes before O in the alphabet.
There you go.
Like it was safe.
All right, we'll do that. We'll have Allison's office tell us if they're meaningfully different in the order. And operator. This is a thing, I'm typing live in front of y'all, so you're gonna know how bad of a speller I am.
No judgment here. Looks like a third grader did it.
So registration by operator. So this kind of goes into, I think, where previously operators leaned on as like a company definition.
Company.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, that would still fall definitely on company. The
Okay.
company and or at the administration. I mean, your average driver has no say so over these trucks.
Now,
Yep.
but that also is gonna come back to where, is the city gonna make us register the trucks like they do the taxi cabs? Because if you do that, then the operators have to be registered, just like the taxi drivers have to be registered with the city of Charlottesville.
I feel like that is a mistake. I hope there's something we can do to step in with that. That would be a huge mistake in our line of work. We are not taxi cabs.
Right.
So for this piece, and I think that kind of registration, I think we'll talk about that later. There's at least some reference in here. So we're registering. I know down here it talks about a company of the operator's business license. That is certainly the company's business license.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. So I can knock that one out. Actually, delete that too. But here it sounds like,
That's the same thing.
so these all should be all companies.
You agree,
Yeah.
Larry? Larry, you still there?
I think he's muted. And Jeff is on here. He's on as an attendee.
Great.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
There you are.
All right, what was the question?
so the operator as being the company and registering with the city. With the above paragraph, so the same paragraph, but line 3 basically is gonna be the same thing.
All right,
Talking about the company registering business license with the city.
Yep. So it'd be registration by companies, all
Mhm.
companies engaged in immobilizing.
Yes.
Okay. Makes sense to me. I mean, our operator count is dropping. Maybe not the worst thing. So here in signs, this is going back a little bit, but when we talked about because this is private property towing, we wanted to have some kind of call out that hey, I'll use myself as an example. I should not have to have a like private parking only, you will be towed sign for my driveway. And so that's why
No.
we included, this, personal private residential parking doesn't apply there.
Now, the only thing that I've seen about that when it says personal private is when you get up around the university, the students are gonna say, well, this is personal private,
Because a lot of them purchase
They-
their own space.
right? That's the only kind of what I
Oh.
guess what you would want to call loophole in that. I mean, I understand where that comes from, and I agree 100% because if
It's all about
somebody
wordage.
pulled up in your yard and
Mhm.
you wanted it towed, according to this ordinance, you can't do it unless you have towing signs up.
I wonder if there's a way to say it like something like personal, non-management, as in it's your property. You don't have someone managing your property. Because when you deal with these big apartment complexes like that, there's always management and there's always maintenance. So there's got to be a wording that allows it to be, like he just said, his personal driveway. There's got to be it's all about wording.
So would it be homeowners?
Yeah, that might,
Like,
homeowner might work.
but then again, you've got a single individual, like Buzz could be renting his house from somebody,
That's what I was gonna say.
and
Yep.
it's a house and he doesn't own it. It's not an apartment.
Well, then they'd be the sole proprietor or the owner and or proprietor of.
Right.
So I want to make sure I'm like thinking through the use case where this phrase doesn't work. So we're saying it excludes your personal or private residential parking spaces or your private driveways.
Take
And
out
so
parking spaces. Well,
So-
that still won't work due to apartments in town, will it? Nope, that won't work
Right.
either.
Are there many? I mean, certainly we want to solve for
There's a
for the issue
lot.
that they don't have a towaway sign in front of.
Yes.
They
Oh,
just have they have permit parking is what it
Yeah.
says. The
Like, I
sign
mean,
does.
I probably have 5 to 6 calls a day where I have to tell people that we can't tow the car because we don't have a contract with you and we don't have towing signs in place.
So the other side of this coin, I would say, is people should not get towed for a larger lot where there's not a sign posted.
correct.
So I kind of like keeping it like this because it requires the property manager to post that sign.
Yeah, and of course we agree with that as far as that, but that's what we're saying is where it gets hinky, and when you deal with these young, can't think of a polite way to say it. These
See,
young
you didn't gotta be
people,
polite.
these young entitled ones, and they're like, I paid for this spot, which you do, but as a larger facility that manages it, they have to have a sign. So it doesn't matter that this person, if they have a problem with a towing company and don't want that towing company towing, they still have to call them.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? They can't call me even though it's their spot if it's Wayne's lot.
Right.
And I know it seems like we're nitpicking, but in the world of legalities, you kind of have to.
And it sounds like yeah.
So you're correct on what we want and what it needs to be. It's just all about wording it in a way that it's not going to bite anybody in the rear later.
And to a certain extent, and this will be interesting to see how we can craft the ordinance to address this, but how do we even get upstream of that issue? And if there is an apartment complex that is having these issues, take it up with the manager. Be like, look, you're causing a big
Teresa-
issue here, but not having a sign.
Teresa, how does the city differentiate between a single individual home and what the students have, like in the university area or the parking lots
Big
downtown?
parking complexes in general.
Well, that's the thing. There's different areas that are permitted parking and it's signed permitted parking. And then there's so many permits allotted per household in that permitted area. And then if it's, otherwise if it's not permitted parking, anybody can park on the street. It's a public street. So
Sorry, guys, hang on a second.
does that make sense?
So I just want to make sure I'm following the line of thinking here. So like the scenario that we're trying to solve for is there is a student who has rented a parking place in like an apartment complex parking lot. And somebody parks in that student's spot and the student calls a towing company and says, I want this person towed. They're in my spot. And the towing companies can't tow unless the apartment complex had posted a sign. Is that right?
And it's
Kind of,
correct.
Yep.
kind of,
Kind
but
of.
let me, where this actual part came in, Ashley, is, do you live in the city of Charlottesville? I'm
I
assuming
do. Yeah.
on the board. Okay, so do you, your own private residence, you're not like an apartment complex or townhome or anything?
That's right.
Okay, so if somebody pulls up in your driveway and parks, as this ordinance is right now, you cannot have them towed.
Huh.
And see,
because
that's a problem. I've gotten people who have called to the city manager's office and complained about that. Somebody's blocking, number one, somebody's parked blocking the sidewalk. Number two, somebody's parked blocking my driveway. So how does, I guess, Larry and Jeff, you want to address those? Are those ticketable
Well,
offenses?
the blocking of the driveway, if somebody calls, the city says that nobody can block a driveway, even if it's their own, that's a towable offense, a ticket and towable offense. So if somebody calls the police department and said there's a car blocking their driveway, and if I go out and I look at it, and if I think that it's blocking the driveway enough that it's prohibiting them from getting in or out of that driveway, then I'm going to ticket it and tow it. Okay. As far as blocking the sidewalk, the only thing that we can do as of right now for that is just ticket it.
So even in that scenario, the homeowner cannot call to have the vehicle removed. They have to go through the local police department to have the
If
vehicle
it's on
towed,
the
and then the
street.
city has the
Now,
vehicle towed.
Once it gets off the entrance to that driveway into their property, then they're on their own.
Right, but the way
The only thing that we can tow from is the city street. We cannot tow from private property.
right, and the way the ordinance is written for private property tows, it has to be signed and contracted with a towing company.
So I think for that scenario, that's why we're adding this clause saying, if it's your own driveway, it's your own private spot, you shouldn't have to do that. I'm having a tough
I
time
would-
coming up with the provision that we can also say like, but if you are like,
Excludes, how about excludes, as a way of wording, excludes parking that's paid for, like,
Permitted
individually.
parking
Yeah,
excludes permitted parking because those areas are not, they're not
they're not
defined.
necessarily private.
They're not, no, they're actually on the city street. Those permitted parking spots are on the street. So there's no, it's not a defined space. It's just that whole street is permitted parking. So if they don't exhibit a permit and they're parked on the street, Larry, what happens at that point?
That's a
Well,
whole different subject.
The first thing we'll do is give them a ticket because they're not supposed to be there. Then if they are a repeat offender, then we will tow them off the street because they're ignoring the law, in the ordinance.
Okay,
But I think what Wayne and Bridget is talking about, the parking lots, like you say, 222 14th Street. Okay, that's a parking lot in there. Sometimes those apartment complexes up there, it worked when we worked at Charlottesville Record together, Wayne, you know that yourself. Management wouldn't come out at night to do anything. Right. They would put it in the lease that the person who was leasing that apartment to that number had the right to have the cars removed from their spots.
Right, that's what we call tenant request.
Right. But as far as the private property, for the people who own property in the city of Charlottesville, like with a house and a driveway and stuff like that, yeah, they should not have to put up a sign to get their cars, somebody out of their driveway.
So what is the wording to different residential versus what these students are parking in and parking lots downtown and business parking lots? How do you word that? That's what needs to be worded. So residential to me is Buzz's and Ashley's personal house versus a business at my business, somebody's parked at my business, or student housing, or
student housing, that's the difference.
Downtown, the parking lot at First and Market, stuff like that. It's got to be, and I don't think you can just say commercial.
No, you can't just say commercial because private business owners can do the same thing.
So I took a pass at it. Let me know what you guys think, you guys and gals. I did. So we have the personal private parking, we have the private driveways. I also included this privately permitted parking. How's that for your alliteration? Because this is
good.
This is different than, city permitting on the streets, because we're talking about privately owned subject area. But this is, hey, I've assigned a parking space to this person. I've permitted them, they've bought it, and I am not putting up a post sign knowing that they are entitled to it. So I can still tow from there without the posted sign.
Yeah, but I still think something's got to be in there, because this is where we're going to have a problem. Okay, I'm going to have a police officer come in and say, well, that's their personal private parking. That's their personal private residence, because they live there, even though it's on campus and at Woodland Square Apartments in the university. And I'm going to have a police officer come in and argue that point and then try to demand me to give the vehicle back.
It's, for example, maybe this helps. So we tow out of Lark on Main. Lark on Main has assigned parking for their tenants. They're assigned a parking spot. Now, they can't call Wayne to tow because, they're signed, of course, but like they have to have signs up. And if you go somewhere, there are places that have not got towing contracts, and it's the same thing. This is my assigned spot. This is my spot. But we cannot legally go in there because that place is not signed. It's so tricky.
Right. So being not signed is when Bridget's saying signed, that sign is her contract for that property.
Right. And
my sign is my contract for the property. We have paper contracts also, but
right.
We just it really just boils down to wording. We just need a word that's going to represent, or wordage that represents these larger facilities with the high turnovers, because they are not, they're private residents, yes, but they are still very different than, again, your home and your driveway.
Right.
It is completely
I'm in a meeting,
private.
I'll call you back.
It's completely private. Your home is your property, and you do not need a sign, or should not need a sign, I should say. But, it's very different when you've got places like this where there's high turnover, and they pay for these spots, but the law is different for them. It really is, or should be.
So are you all worried about, like, said resident of a leased apartment has an assigned spot, somebody else parks in it, they call you to tow it with this new language, and then the person that got towed starts arguing, well, I have a lease spot in here and somebody was in my place, you can't tow my car because I pay rent.
Exactly.
I
Yep.
see.
That happens a lot. And
A whole lot. I've had people bring in their leases and they're like, look, I live here. And I'm like,
Well, that's when
Actually,
you tell them. That's when you tell them that, okay, you live there, you read the lease, you should know better than to park into somebody else's spot.
don't work that way.
oh, we do.
Wish it did.
We tell them.
But actually,
We
what
tell
really
them, but
brought
it does,
this
yeah.
this whole part up was you cannot have a car towed from your house. If somebody parked in your yard or in your driveway, you legally cannot have that car towed from your house.
Which I think this addresses that case.
Right,
It's just
Yeah.
a
it
more
does.
complicated
Yeah.
one.
But then we still gotta figure out the wording in it says personal and private.
Uh-huh.
And being personal, it's personal that I park at Woodland Square Apartments because I pay $3,000 a month to share a room with 4 other people.
Like
And
that.
then
It's just,
And then
it's
I pay
tricky.
$275 for parking.
Right. So I'd be curious to see y'all's reaction to this. That sounds like a more complicated issue that maybe can't be captured in this signs paragraph. Could we put that down as something to digest a little bit more and then go through the rest of the document?
Okay.
We can, yeah. Come back to it later.
And I'm actually going to make, if this is going to be our living document, I'm going to, how do I do a comment? All right, here we go.
I mean, I think
okay.
the way that little change, I think, is nice. We're just basically wanting it worded in a way that protects us so that we don't get told we're breaking a law that
Right.
we
Simplify.
technically aren't breaking.
Right. Okay. I have a little comment here flagging us to come back to this one.
So what
Um,
you're doing is what we wanted, just got to get it tweaked.
Okay. Previously, oh gosh, this is pretty early. In my term, we nixed PVC as not durable enough material. Still good with that?
Correct.
All right.
Agreed.
That's for the signs, Bridget, not to make them out of PVC. They need to be made out of some type of metals.
Yeah, agreed. Just like I agree with the reflective.
Yes, reflective needs to be 100%.
And that is, yeah, it is in there. Okay. We probably have some that are not. This is something that had come up earlier, this question of that it's just the towing coordinator as it's written right now who can make conformity determinations, basically saying that there's a sign that doesn't by the letter of the law reach all of these, but it was put up before this came into effect in 2014 or whatever it was, and or is a pretty strong sign that gets the intent here, and the towing coordinator can say that passes muster. I think, Wayne, you had some comments or questions about why is this just the towing coordinator, or is there a different way to approach it?
So you're talking, this is on the, all right, tell me again. I'm sorry, Buzz.
No worries. This is where we have a provision that says signs that existed prior to this ordinance are allowed to be determined in substantial
Grandfathered.
conformity. Yeah.
Grandfathered in.
Yeah. That essentially it might not have this every single provision by the letter of the law, but that it is generally a strong sign and should be allowed to be there. So that's go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think we should probably come back to that after we figure out how we're gonna handle this towing coordinator thing. But this ordinance is 13 years old. So if it was grandfathered in 13 years ago and those signs were there 13 years ago, what do they look like today? You know, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There are so many signs that's not reflective, not proper sizing, not proper language, wording, size, however you want to say it. And even signs that's being put up today are not to the ordinance.
Yes, sir.
So that, again, because Ashley doesn't know, I do not agree with the way the towing coordinator position's held and operated and enforced. It's never been correct.
Yeah, I mean, certainly to that point of enforcement, so here we've also included that if that determination has been made, that the towing coordinator can give them, some kind of official verification of that. None of those verifications exist to my knowledge today, and so assuming that we approach this towing coordinator position or just generally the kind of enforcement wing of this advisory board a little bit differently moving forward, there's definitely an opportunity to go and address some of those signs that do not reach this standard, whether explicitly or implicitly. So that's definitely something we can tackle. It sounds like you might want to go back to this duties of the towing coordinator and take a look at that. I think some of it might also be just who gets assigned the towing coordinator. Is it tied to, the traffic unit supervisor, or what this looks like?
I think it needs to be 3 parts.
Me and Wayne have discussed that, and I think it's a good idea to keeps anybody from getting overzealous. It allows for multiple thoughts and ideas if you have more than one person involved in the say so what goes on. And that's just not for towing. That should be, to me, that should be kind of the case for almost anything. It just allows more diversity and fairness when you have more than one person dictating.
Are you talking about having somebody from the board that is not a paid employee of the city to be the towing coordinator?
No, what I'm saying is, and I'm gonna use
Kind of like
examples.
this group right here.
I'm gonna use examples. We should have, I don't even know who the towing coordinator is supposed to be now. So I'm gonna use Josh. Josh is the boss, and me and Buzz go to him and tell him what needs to be done. And between me and Buzz, we make sure he upholds it and does it. Just like these signs. Okay, I can come and say, Josh, there's 35 signs up here in the university that's old, ragged, people getting towed. I'm getting phone calls, whatever. Buzz, you need to go look at them. Josh, you need to go look at them. I've already looked at them. The 3 of us come back together and say, okay, we need to go to Small Town Towing and tell them she's got to fix her signs.
Oh, so targeted.
And Ashley, I use Small Town because that's who Bridget's with. So, and it's just that it needs to be done. And the towing coordinator position, I've been on this board and been through 4 coordinators, I believe. And it just doesn't happen. They don't have enough time. They're too busy doing this. They're too busy doing that. 100% agree they are busy people, but this is also part of their job. So it just needs to happen. And when you don't have anybody saying, make it happen, it doesn't happen. Buzz, just like y'all went out somewhere and asked for old documents and looked at this and looked at that, never went back. They joke about it, laugh about it all the time. And all it does is show how purposely the towing committee is not working.
So I'm wondering, yeah, please go ahead. I was going to say it made sense to me.
Well, it's all discussing.
Sounds like somebody's lagging.
She's
Probably me.
Well, and the crosstalk, that probably won't
Go ahead.
happen once we're back in person. All right, sorry. So I think it made sense to sit with the police representative who was in the traffic unit, just because there's a lot of overlap in their job, presumably, where it might be a taller ask or a tougher ask for folks who have different day jobs. But I don't disagree. I like Wayne's thought about having multiple people involved so that A, it's not just one person's opinion, and B, there can be I don't know. I think like one person eventually has to be responsible for it. It's like disseminated responsibility often leads to inaction, but that way we could have more people nudge and be like, hey, we need to follow through on this. And even, you know, if they're not going to do it, that it can be up to the other voting members of the board to step into that position. It'd be like such a change to the structure. I don't know
think it'd be
exactly how to
really
approach
good.
that, but yeah. You like
Almost
it,
similar to
Bridget?
what you have here, because that's what I was saying when Wayne and I discussed it. Right now, we have a member from law enforcement. We have members of the towing community. We have, you know, and then you can have a member of either the community or a member of, you know, like you said, the city board. And that way you've got, again, so when someone's like, oh, well, this isn't, then maybe Wayne or I could go, well, you gotta understand that it's because of this, because this is what we have to do. Versus, you know, it helps when you have people from different areas. I think that it would be good.
And I actually will weigh in here and say,
Just like this board.
Oh, sorry, Bridget. I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's my lag. You're good. You didn't. It's my lag.
I was just gonna say, as a citizen member, I tried to file a complaint against a towing company beyond just getting reimbursed for the overcharge, and I was unsuccessful with multiple follow-ups through the towing coordinator. So like from a citizen perspective, like I will echo what you're saying. I think what you're saying is a good idea, to have more than one person who's accountable, because it may not be a priority. Like basically I just gleaned like this isn't a priority, and I don't, as a citizen, I don't know how to do anything else other than continue to follow up with the towing coordinator.
I think that was your only avenue, actually.
Well, like for instance, I understand what you guys are saying. For instance, if you're going to dispute a parking ticket, that goes to the treasurer's office because that's where you remit the parking ticket. They have avenues to, you know, waive a ticket if it's, you know, whatever their policies are. They also take pictures and such so that they have documentation. So I'm not sure. I guess would you have to ask Allison about whether it's a possibility to have citizens make that decision. Something else you might want to think about is possibly partnering with the parking people, because that what this is basically parking issues. So I'm not sure if that's something that can be explored or interdepartmental, you know, because we have a parking manager, and then, you know, Linear does our parking,
No,
manages
I was
the
gonna say,
parking
because
we're
place.
not gonna get them involved in our business. But what I'm saying is, like, myself and Buzz, we can't go to Bridget and say she's got to fix this. We can only go to Josh, and like the two of us are kind of forcing his hand to do his job and go do this and get it over with. And instead of it just getting washed because it's not that important, you know, as his other work. It's just stuff that's got to be done. So like the two other board members, they wouldn't have any jurisdiction or power to be able to go to another record service and say, hey, you have to do this. We could suggest it, but we can suggest it now. But just, it's got to be worded in the ordinance that it's got to happen, or it will never happen.
And also to bring it up about, like when you mentioned parking and transportation, the other problem is it's not always a parking complaint. You know, we are very, in case you haven't noticed, I'm very talkative and open, and a lot of the other drivers who come here to pick up vehicles and that I deal with, they'll be like, you know, you wouldn't believe what just happened to me. And, you know, I'll hear this stuff and there's nothing I could do anyway, but, you know, it's also about, so when one company in this area screws up, for lack of a better word, it will fall on all of us. It doesn't matter if Wayne and I behave to the letter of the law. So when it gets so bad that it gets noticed, and it becomes a thing, then it affects everyone. So it would not be a bad thing to have someone come in and go to a particular lot of, especially a high complaint area, and look things over. So it's not always about the parking. It's also about making sure that we, the companies, are not taking advantage of, the public. That is why we have all these rules. If everyone did what they were supposed to do, you wouldn't need these rules.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it
So-
comes in. There is a particular company I won't name, but there's a particular company I hear about on a regular. I don't even know how they're in business, how they haven't been sued out of oblivion. I have no idea, because there's nobody putting their foot down on them going, what are you doing?
Well, I know that y'all say y'all don't want to have to do what the cabs do, but one of the reasons that the cabs have to do what they do is to keep people from like cab companies like that from doing what they do. And on the other part of it is right there, give Lee a chance before you do anything else. You might find out he's a different person.
So in the ordinance, going back to this towing coordinator thing, there's only 12 references of the towing coordinator. Most of those could be interchanged with the advisory board pretty easy without really any changes, and just kind of fold this duties of and sorry, I'm just like jumping around for whoever's watching live. These duties of the towing coordinator immediately follow the composition of the board, so it could certainly be kind of duties of the advisory board if we wanted to change that. The one thing I'd call out, and that I'd probably want kind of city attorney's office feedback on, is by our ordinance, the towing coordinator is a city manager appointed person, whereas I think the members of this board are council appointed. And I imagine there's some kind of appreciable difference there.
I imagine so.
But other than that, I mean, it sounds like how we want to approach this more collectively and to have different perspectives and some accountability there. Honestly, I could see you just changing this to the advisory board, and this is what we know we're signing up for, because it talks about our composition and like how often we meet and stuff, but it doesn't really speak to our duties, which I think it probably should.
It seems like it'd be a simple change of, just changing it from that to an advisory board, probably, if we get to that point.
So right
For-
now, who holds the towing coordinator accountable? Is it within the police department, or is it the city manager?
I would imagine it's the chain of commands, it's the police department, and then if the matters don't get fixed, then it's the city manager.
Okay,
It's the police department. It's his chain of command that holds him accountable for whatever he does.
got it. Okay.
But that assumes that the towing coordinator, is a police officer. There's nothing in the ordinance that says they have to be.
But there has never been anybody to hold the coordinator responsible. I have tried and
Sure.
tried and tried. It just doesn't happen. And unless we change this, it'll never happen. Because this whole ordinance was made to make downtown Charlottesville happy. And that's all it did. It put more signage downtown. That was it. And downtown don't help any of us when we're talking about the whole city.
So would anyone have a bunch of heartburn or disagree if I put forward a suggested revision that we scratch the towing coordinator and reassigned any reference or duty to the advisory board?
I agree partial with that, Buzz, but we still, the response that I got from Josh was, it has to be law enforcement to enforce anything on this ordinance. Outside of, I guess, the city council saying, yes, you got to go do it.
Right.
But it's got to be an enforceable officer that has to be the one that walks into Bridget's office and says,
Right.
you have to do this, or you're going to get fined, or you're
feeling
not
very
going
picked
to be
on.
allowed to tow anymore to the city.
Because this is a law for the city. So it has to be a police officer who is enforcing the law.
Right.
And that
And-
makes sense.
But as a part of that, and you know, I'm not like dead set on this, but as a part of that, if we had that duty fall under the board, and maybe we make it so it has to be each like voting member of the board, then we have that police representation.
I'm a little lost there, Buzz.
So if to say we're doing a surprise audit or we're doing some kind of enforcement action, and we have to have the towing citizen and police representative that gives us our quorum, then we would, in any of these events, we would have that police authority to follow up on these provisions.
And saying we as in me and you,
The board.
or the whole.
Yeah, the board. They, you know, you, me, and Larry go, and you know, we have an issue at some towing facility. We have Larry there for the authority from the city to actually make good on this ordinance.
But me and you would be
Makes
present
sense.
also.
That's right. So it's not just one person, and we can hold Larry's feet to the fire if he's not doing anything,
And
which
then
I know
that way,
won't be an issue.
That sounds good.
my opinion would be that way, the owner of that company knows it's been through the citizen and the towing representative and law enforcement.
That's right.
And we're there now saying it's got to be done.
That's right.
As long as it
Okay.
gets worded where whoever reads this ordinance understands that.
Yeah, this
But
will.
the part
Yeah, I
about
think-
that, unless y'all can get it changed, I can't do it because I'm not a sworn officer.
Right. So it would have to be somebody like Lee or Josh or whoever the new
Right.
officer is.
It'll have to be a sworn officer.
Right. So what I'm doing for, just so I kind of give myself voiceover for those y'all who see the screen, I don't want to do this live while everyone's waiting, but what I'm going to do is take a pass at essentially collapsing all the towing coordinator duties to fall within the advisory board and make sure that any like enforcement or things that require that towing coordinator to be a police officer, but if it's the board making that action going forward, that the police officer representative along with the other two voting members would be a part of that.
Sounds good.
All this progress we're making. This is exciting. All right, cool. And we're talking some big ones, getting rid of operator issues here, towing coordinator. We are cooking with fire. All right, so going down, I think this is where we left off with the towing coordinator questions.
Can I say
Yeah,
something
please.
before that?
Please.
Teresa, you better call City Hall because me and Buzz agreed on something. They could have snowstorm this weekend. Y'all not gonna believe.
I'll see if
Tell
I
'em.
can get a certification out of council for you.
You better
It's
get
gotta
them
be a public
to
holiday at this point.
get them plow trucks ready.
Nothing but love, just, you know, different seats at the table. All right, so going back, when we're talking about records management, that should be the company rather than the operator. And this is something we had touched a while ago, but the idea was that folks shouldn't have to, 3 years is a long time to maintain written and electric records. We changed that to 2 before. Any problems there?
I guess maybe you want to go with whatever the guidelines are for, you know, like certain records you keep for 5 years, certain for 7, blah, blah, blah. There may have been a reason for the 3 year to begin with.
I think you had got that approved, Teresa, to change that to 2 already, because that was like well over almost 2 years ago that we did that part.
Okay,
I don't have my notes in front of me, but I'm pretty sure that was okayed that it could happen.
Yeah, let me change the way I'm sharing my screen, because I was just sharing that Google Doc specifically And let me share this whole screen so you can see that Word doc of what we had. So this is what a while ago.
Yeah,
As you
19.
can see here. Yeah, right. But this had already been vetted by Allison's office, and going down to shoot, where is it? Yeah, we had gotten sign off on that. I don't know if that's changed since then, but
Probably not.
okay. So going down, this is going to what was referenced earlier, that this actually says that the city police will do this annual kind of taxi-like inspection at the beginning of the year.
I think the big holdup on that was date,
Yeah.
because we're talking yearly, and I know, as far as I know, all record services physical year is January, and Josh was worried that the city was June to July, or June to June, whatever, and we couldn't get a hard date on that.
And I think, if memory serves, because it was later in the year too, so like getting able to organize with the holidays would be tough. But if we suggest it's the beginning of the calendar year, since that falls within y'all's fiscal year, would that work better?
I think it did. I think I agreed to that, like, in January. But I think, and Larry, you might need to help me on this, because when y'all do the taxis, y'all do them in June or March, April, or I don't know, whenever y'all do it. I think that's what Josh kept coming back to.
We do the taxi inspections the last week of February.
Okay.
So that gives them, because they have to have all their license and taxi drivers all registered and stuff by the 1st of March. So that's when that is. So as far as inspecting the records, like we do the cabs and stuff like that, you can do it at any time, because y'all are not going downtown to get your license and all that stuff. You don't have to worry about that.
Right.
You're just inspecting the trucks.
We don't have to have a business license in the truck.
Oh, you don't have to have one in the truck.
Right, like the taxis do.
Yeah.
But I think y'all are still issuing the stickers, right, Larry?
For the cabs, yes.
Okay, because I think that was suggested too, and which I think is somewhere in this ordinance, that your city decal has to be present on the truck.
Yep.
Because it has to be visible on the cab.
Right, because I just suggested, and I don't care. It's just a 2-inch round sticker. I don't care if it says taxi or not. Slap one on the bumper of my tow truck, back window or something. At least it's correct.
I guess when it comes to that, it's one of the things I missed out on. So, not to hold up the meeting, maybe you and I can get together afterwards. I'm not sure what it is they're looking to do that's similar to the taxi inspections. I'm not understanding.
It's just making sure that the registration, your license plates, registration, insurance, and state inspection are up to date, and that there's no physical. I think, Larry, you can chime in on this. Like, all your lights have to be working at the, when you go in there to have it.
Oh, so just that everything's up to state par.
Yes, correct.
I mean, okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
nothing.
That should be.
In other words, you're doing a state inspection on the truck, but you're not doing a state inspection on the truck, because you're checking everything but the brakes.
Right.
And and at that part right there.
As long as you're not holding rust against me, we're fine.
As long as there's no holes in the floorboard.
Oh, now come on, now you nitpicking. No, nitpicking.
And that's something that I can come to your lot and do those inspections at your lot. You don't have to bring all the trucks to McIntyre Park. Because the whole thing with that is you end up with a whole lot of records in a place that you ain't got it's not like the cab. They can run in and out real quick because their cars are small. So that is right there, I can come to your lot and inspect your trucks.
Correct.
Which would be a whole lot easier on me too, but I think I don't have to sit in that parking lot all day long.
I think the big thing with getting that approved with everybody is a date.
Yep.
And yes, Larry cannot do it all in one day, or Larry and Josh and
I was
Jeff,
gonna say, do we
whoever's
really
doing it.
need a date? Wouldn't a call ahead just be efficient? It's going to be between this and this, and Larry will call when he's available. Hey, I'm
I think
available this date.
except
I'd like to
for-
come inspect your trucks.
I think except for like new equipment, when you add new equipment, I think it should be dated like this will have to be done in January.
Well, if he's doing everything, the taxi cabs in February and they have to be registered by the first part of March, why couldn't you guys make the towing the next month? That way he's not slammed in 1 month about having to do inspections. Just pick the month of March and he goes to the facilities and inspects and gives you guys your stickers.
I mean, that's fine with me. That's what I'm saying, as long as we.
I personally am fine with March.
Right.
So we'd want to take out centralized if it makes more sense to go to each location. We'll conduct an annual inspection during the month of March.
Right. And put an exception in there for like buying new equipment. So like if I was to buy a new truck in July, I need to have Larry come inspect it before I can start doing private property tows with it.
Yeah, that would work, because even when the cabs add new cabs, every Tuesday morning from 8 to 10, they can call me and I'll come inspect the new cabs. So that's not a problem on that.
Okay, so if a company purchases new vehicles or equipment,
There you go.
yeah.
Hey, guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
We got a few more minutes, but then we've got to bump off at 2:30, okay?
Okay, thanks for the heads up. Purchases new vehicles or equipment after March. They must coordinate with city police for an inspection within 1 month, as soon as
Yeah.
possible.
I would.
I mean,
We
I
said-
would
we
just
said
say
bef-
something like prior
I
to
would put it.
utilizing.
I would put that in there like this right here on that one, boss. You know, if like Wayne or Bridget gets a new truck, they'll call me and say, okay, I got a new truck. I'll have it ready for you to look at, say like on Friday or the following Monday or whatever it is. Then, you know, all I got to do is go look at the truck. I mean, I don't think you'd have to put a date on or a certain time on how fast they need to get it done, because they're not going to be able to drive it until you inspect it anyway.
Okay, so just prior to operating, that's
Well,
simple
yeah.
enough.
just won't be able to operate in private property lots. That's the only
Right.
thing that inspection does for us.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, I want to give us the last like 5-8+ minutes to make sure we're coordinating kind of next steps. So let's do a couple more of these provisions. So this
Hey,
is still in.
Buzz.
Yep.
I know there's one thing that we need to work on, especially while we have Bridget on, is this right there, the storage site in the city.
Yep.
We need to get that started
Ironed
working on,
out.
since we only got 15 minutes left.
Definitely. This one should be really quick before it, just so we're kind of making progress down the page. Reminding everyone that we had changed the violations for anyone not doing business appropriately from 100 to 150.
Okay.
I guess for the well-behaved, maybe not an issue. So here we go. Yeah, and this is something we called out. The ordinance requires storage sites to be within Charlottesville city limits. None of the current storage sites are within the city. I think, Wayne, you had mentioned within 3 miles last time.
Yeah,
think-
3 miles.
3 miles should cover everybody that we have now, and I think that is still substantial to a person getting from the university to any outside location.
Agreed.
I mean, we can move it to 5
So-
miles. I really don't care, but I think
Yeah.
it's still a loophole for somebody to come in and complain that, you know, you're
That we were
you're
not
not in the
following
city
orders.
of Charlottesville.
Right. If memory serves, and I'd have to pull this up. I feel like we keep saying this. the current existing storage sites are, most of them are just on the other side into the county. I want to say we said that all of the current towing companies were within 1.5 miles of city limits.
Yes, within a mile of the city limits.
Of the city limits, right? Right.
Yes.
To a storage site. So what if we did, instead of in the city, we did within one, do this lawyer, give it the number, 1 mile of city limits.
Does that give you enough room, Bridget?
I think it still puts me right under. I think there's like 4 of us right here, and I think we're like 1.8 miles.
So yeah, let's stick with 3 miles, Buzz.
I think 3, yeah.
That should
Yeah.
cover.
And it's not even about just where we're at now. Zoning laws have pushed. That's why you're seeing us all clustered together. Zoning laws have pushed us into certain areas, and that's why you're finding us all together.
Where's the city limit sign at, Larry?
City limits is at the bridge.
Avon Bridge. Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
thought. Yeah. I think 3 miles would probably justify better than
You're
1
welcome.
mile. You agree with that, Bridget?
I agree completely.
Okay. I'm gonna do I
And
think
that
I'm okay
still
with
puts
that.
us-
Certainly. Go ahead.
It also puts us kind of in line with, and I know it's a different area and it's not what we handle here, but it also puts us in line with the police towing ordinance for anyone on their rotation. It's 3 miles.
Right.
So it kind of aligns you in that way as well.
Y'all can move it to 15 miles and then I ain't got to come to Charlottesville at all.
That's not gonna happen. We want to see your face around here, Wayne. All right. Here's one, and I know we've talked this a couple times, but want to make sure we're all in agreement here. There's this idea of that the storage site has to be a reasonable walking distance from where the fee payments are received. So this is the kind of storage yard or the lot where they have the vehicle is walkable from where they take your money.
I think that's also not really, it's a nice thought for the public, the general public being towed, but it's too hard to really
So what I remember
pull off
us-
and maintain. Who dictates what's walkable?
So, well, Bridget, I think what we came up with on this is they're talking about from your office to where they actually get in their car and drive away.
Oh,
so I
okay,
think-
okay.
Fee payments are received probably needs to be worded with the word office to storage lot. You know, from where you pay your fee at in the office to where you get your vehicle from storage lot. Because I've got a storage lot in Waynesboro, you know, and then Bridget, she's got a second storage lot too, and she could,
Yep.
you know, so I think it needs to be from office to storage lot of said vehicle. And then I can receive payment in my truck too on the side of the road.
I mean, yeah, we can. I mean, it's
Right.
I
So
think-
instead of from the area where these payments are received, we should say from the office where these fees are received.
Business
Yeah, I think-
office.
Business
Yeah.
office.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense to me. Let's make website one word while we're here.
well, this may be my first meeting, but I feel like we're just killing it today.
We needed you. That was the missing ingredient.
That's just,
Oh, okay.
that's just because Buzz agreed with me on something.
So I'll look for the tornado later.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna get my lotto ticket. All right, so we got 7 minutes before we get booted. I think that's a good place to stop. We're at 1526 vehicle release, so not much to go for next time. What I can commit to doing is the 2 main comments were, what does this look like if we eliminate the towing coordinator position and make it the board instead? And then what was the other comment we had that wanted to?
It was though we're trying to define how to define residential parking, but I had a
Yeah.
thought since we have a couple minutes. What
Sure.
if we refer to the places that versus, so private residence being your home like it should be.
Yep.
And we say high density private parking requires signage.
I don't know, I have to look that word up.
or multifamily private parking?
I
Because
mean, I
that,
don't know, how does that work with like a townhouse?
Right,
That's
that's what
what I
I
was
was
gonna
thinking about,
say.
the high density, that would still be like First and Garrett, and that would still do with a lot of townhomes that have, you know, private parking.
But they
Um,
usually don't have large parking areas. They still have private parking. They usually, most of them still
Yeah.
have driveways.
You too.
Yeah.
That's
This
why I
might
was
be
saying, I
one
didn't
of
know.
those. Sorry, go
could
ahead.
be-
Go ahead.
it's
No,
gonna
you're
be
good.
hard.
That's, yeah, it's gonna be hard. That's why I thought maybe something like a high density private, private parking required signage.
No.
I still think, Larry, mute yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
I still think that, and like, this is it, getting, even at a private residence,
Uh-huh.
if Buzz needs a car towed without any signage, we need to have a, slip filled out.
Mm,
That's just an authorization form that relinquishes my responsibility to Buzz Becker because he is the one that told me to tow the car. All I did was do a job for him.
well, I mean, you could do that, implement that as a towing business. That's your policy to do.
Right, but it doesn't hold water to this ordinance. I mean, I do it every day. We do it every day when we tow one. We've got several apartment complexes. Even the management has to sign the authorization form, even though we're contracted. We have signs in place, everything. But I think if it's adopted into this ordinance that on a private residence, as long as the homeowner signs,
Oh.
homeowner/renter signs a authorization form, that's authorizing us to tow the vehicle without signage. And that moves the liability from the wrecker service to the homeowner.
Ugh.
That's still harder to pull off though, Wayne. How many times have you been called and someone said, look, I'm at work. There was a car, I had to do this to get around the car and they're not even home now.
I lost a lawsuit and my sign was in the picture right behind the car too. At
As
2
I'm saying,
o'clock in the
there's
morning.
there's no guarantees for us, period. We are in a high risk job. It's just that simple.
Yep, but what I'm trying to fix here is to make the city back us up, and the city is going to do this by agreeing to all these.
Yeah. Well, like I definitely agree that homeowners should not need a sign. It's just all about making it to where these little uppity students can't claim that they count as that homeowner and renter. It is different. They
since
have
this is
private parking facilities. So that's the only thing I'm trying to differentiate is, your home and driveway versus this highly populated area that with parking that has, that they need signs and
Right.
that,
right.
it's just to differentiate, who can and who doesn't need it.
Well, let's have that be all of our homework between now and the next meeting, because I think this is going to take some real gray matter to try to unlock. And speaking of which, I think we have like 2 minutes and change. Do we have our next meeting on the calendar yet?
Probably not. See, this is the new process with all this new technology that we have. In order for me to place it, because what I have been doing, and this is the problem that we had today with everybody getting a Zoom link from me, with this new Civic Plus, you have to put an agenda into the system, and that triggers the meeting, the next meeting, and the meeting information goes out to all the people. So we'll do it in 2 months from last Thursday. So I will need these notes, whatever we've done, so that I can upload it and create an agenda for the next meeting. Does that make sense?
You can just email us when you know. Sounds like a
Good.
plan.
Yes.
So June 17th is what it looks like to me.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
That's fine with me. Buzz, you renewing or what?
We'll see how June goes.
It already looks like you
It's
should
gotta be
probably
in by
stick
June
around.
the 11th.
You're too
Gotta
good
be in
at
by
this.
June the 11th.
Oh my gosh. We'll see. We'll see. This was our most productive meeting in some time. So this was encouraging.
Right.
I'll kick out to the group. And Teresa, this will probably be helpful, like a printed version of what we did, the couple of items that we said we were going to revisit next time, and
Right.
then the section where we left off that we still need to finish out.
Okay.
All right. Y'all just,
good.
now that we have a working email, y'all just hit me up.
Okay.
Ashley- Is Ashley still in there?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you guys.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Larry.
Nice
Nice seeing you.
meeting y'all.
Okay. Have a good day.
All
All
right.
right.
Guys,
Bye.
appreciate
Bye,
it.
y'all.